Hey everyone, it's here. Today, I'm going to be sharing my secrets for storing bread properly so that it stays fresh and delicious for as long as possible. As someone who loves a good slice of bread, I've experimented with different storage methods over the years, and I've finally found the perfect technique that prevents mold and keeps my bread tasting great. In this video, I'll be walking you through the entire process, from choosing the right storage container to finding the ideal location in your kitchen. I'll also be sharing some bonus tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way. So, if you're tired of throwing away moldy bread, then be sure to watch this video until the end. Bread is a living organism, and like all living things, it eventually dies. The process of bread going bad is called stalling, and it's caused by a number of factors, including moisture loss. As bread ages, it loses moisture, which makes it dry and crumbly. Starch retrogradation, the starch molecules in bread recrystallize over time, making the bread harder and less flexible. Microbial growth, mold and bacteria can grow on bread, especially if it's stored in a warm, humid environment. The best way to store bread depends on how quickly you plan to eat it. If you plan to eat the bread within a few days, you can store it in a bread box at room temperature. However, if you're not going to eat the bread for a week or more, it's best to store it in the refrigerator. The shelf life of bread in a bread box varies depending on the type of bread. White bread will typically last for 3 to 4 days, while whole wheat bread can last for 5 to 7 days. Bread can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. However, it's important to note that bread stored in the refrigerator will become stale faster than bread stored at room temperature. To prevent this, you can wrap the bread in plastic wrap or aluminum foil before storing it in the refrigerator. Don't store bread in a plastic bag. Plastic bags trap moisture, which can make the bread go moldy faster. Don't store bread in the freezer. Freezing bread can make it dry and crumbly. If you see mold on your bread, throw it away. Mold can produce toxins that can be harmful to your health. By following these tips, you can keep your bread fresh and delicious for longer. The freezer is a great option for long-term storage of bread, especially if you won't be using it within a few days. Freezing bread can help preserve its freshness and texture for several months. However, it's important to note that freezing can slightly alter the texture of the bread, making it a bit drier or crumblier. To freeze bread, wrap it tightly in plastic wrap or aluminum foil to prevent freezer burn. You can also slice the bread before freezing for easier use later. When you're ready to thaw frozen bread, simply place it in the refrigerator overnight or leave it at room temperature for a few hours. The bread box is a classic storage option for bread, and it can be a good choice if you plan on using the bread within a few days. Bread boxes are designed to provide a cool, dry environment that helps prevent mold growth. However, it's important to choose the right type of bread box and to use it properly. Look for a bread box made from a material that allows for air circulation, such as wood or ceramic. Avoid plastic bread boxes, as they can trap moisture and promote mold growth. Additionally, make sure to keep your bread box clean and dry. While the refrigerator may seem like a logical place to store bread, it can actually accelerate the stalling process. This is because the cold temperatures can cause the starches in the bread to recrystallize, making it dry and crumbly. However, there are some exceptions to this rule. If you're storing a loaf of bread that contains a lot of moisture, such as sourdough or rye bread, the refrigerator can help extend its shelf life. Additionally, if you're only planning on using a small portion of a loaf, it's okay to store the rest in the refrigerator. Just make sure to wrap it tightly in plastic wrap or aluminum foil to prevent it from drying out. There are a few types of bread that should not be stored in the refrigerator. These include artisan breads. These breads are often made with a high percentage of whole grains and have a more open crumb structure. Storing them in the refrigerator can make them dry and tough. Baguettes and other crusty breads. The cold temperatures in the refrigerator can make the crust of these breads soft and chewy. Gluten-free bread. Gluten-free bread tends to dry out quickly, and storing it in the refrigerator can make it even drier. The best way to store bread at home depends on the type of bread, how quickly you plan on using it, and your personal preferences. Here's a quick guide for short-term storage. 1 to 2 days. Store bread in a bread box at room temperature. For longer-term storage, 3 to 5 days. Wrap bread tightly in plastic wrap or aluminum foil and store it in the refrigerator. For long-term storage, several months, wrap bread tightly in plastic wrap or aluminum foil and freeze it. No matter how you choose to store your bread, make sure to check it regularly for signs of mold. If you see any mold, discard the entire loaf.